And welcome to episode 19 of The Weigh-In. It's me, Andy B here. I'm with Stevie.
Yeah, here we
And
go.
got Clive.
Yeah.
How you doing, lads? How's summer been so far?
Good summer for a fight fan, I think. We're enjoying it.
That's right. So we're now halfway through 2019, a year that's promised big blockbuster fights and long-awaited matchups across the division. Now, while we kind of await our own golden era of the heavyweights, a bit like, sort of Tyson and Lewis and Bruno, and, we can go on for years and years about that sort of golden era on the heavyweight scene. We do start the summer with a new unified champion in the shape of Andy Ruiz Jr. Of course, that's Mexico's first heavyweight champion. Now, let's start off with our Gypsy King, Tyson Fury, who endeared himself to the American public in Las Vegas. Clive, let's start off.
That entrance alone was fantastic. The Apollo Creed entrance, mate, they absolutely love him over there. And he did what he had to do. Like Shawks, he ain't exactly Wilder, but Fury did the business. And for me, he's the man to beat. He's the best out there. And I think this time next year, the Wilder rematch, if it goes ahead as planned, mate, for me, it's Fury. He's looking sharper. Let's not forget, when he fought Wilder, this guy was coming off a layoff. He lost 10 stone in weight. Mm-hmm. Had a couple of, warm-up fights. But he's looking like the real fucking deal right now. And I'm absolutely loving it. I think for me, Gypsy King, mate, this is his year. He's got a fight coming up in October, I believe, in New York. That's what Bob Arum was saying. It may be against Miller, I don't know. That'll be another cracking fight. And just exciting times. Steve, thoughts?
He's the best heavyweight in the world right now, I think. He, along with the talent and the skills that he possesses, I think he's sort of the heir to Mayweather in terms of the level of skill that he is possessing. But along with that, the showmanship and the razzmatazz that Fury brings. We've seen it in the UK for such a long time now. The battles with Derek Chisora, and all of the selling points, the things with Klitschko. But in America, they hadn't seen this before. Okay, he brought that over to America. He lit the place up. Okay, he did the press tour with Wilder was fantastic. But this was a new level. And this was all about marketing. So Schwartz was brought in as the perfect opponent to announce himself to the American market. And boy, did he announce himself. Yeah. Okay. He demonstrated all the skills that we know he can do. The drop in the hands, the spinning out of range, the counter punch, the arms behind the back, all effortless. All looked beautiful on camera under the bright lights of Las Vegas, along with the entrance, the singing afterwards. He sold himself very well. He's actually talking about moving to America for a few years just to cement that fan base and make himself an American massive pay-per-view star. And I think he can be for the next 10 years.
It reminded me of when Prince Azim made his debut in America and how the crowd took him. And, mate, Fury even got Bob Arum singing, mate.
Unbelievable. But there's only one difference between Fury and Naz. It's like, Naz maybe 50-50 liked him, 50-50 hated him. Everyone loves Fury over there. It was 100%. I didn't read one tweet that said Fury's annoying or this is a bit obnoxious. Not one. Everyone loved it. No one was even criticising the opponent. They understood why the opponent was chosen. They understood what it was about. And they've already seen him go to Germany and fight Klitschko, go to America to fight Deontay Wilder after a long layoff of losing all that weight. They know he's the real deal. They know what he's capable of. He's allowed a gimme fight to come and sell himself and show what he can do. Yeah. And he took full advantage. And credit to him, he is a real ambassador for British sport right now. He's got to be one of the best British sporting stars right now.
You get the feeling he's absolutely made for Vegas.
Oh yeah,
the ring walk, that whole showman, him entering the ring, him singing afterwards. Like you say, getting Bob Arum to was it American Pie?
Frank Warren and Bob Arum back in singers.
They're in the right place in Vegas as well.
I don't know if that's a show that I would want to see, but yeah, it was good, all good fun, and. Just the juxtaposition of Eddie Hearn's and Joshua's fight week being followed like literally 2 weeks later by Tyson Fury and Frank Warren's fight week. It was a real this match. It was chalk and shit and Frank Warren's putting he's showing these young pups how to do it. Do you know what I mean? This is the guy who brought through Ricky Hatton. He brought through Nazim Ahmed, and now he's brought through Tyson Fury out to the States. You can't tell this man about how to build stars in the United States. Whereas Eddie Hearn, for all that he's done well with Anthony Joshua and all he's done well for British boxing, he has done an incredible job. He has yet to bring a star to America and really have a really successful time over there.
Yeah.
I mean, in the last 6-7 weeks now, we've seen Deontay Wilder absolutely blaze past Dominic Brazil in is it New York? We then see AJ make his New York debut, and we know the result there. And then a week later, we then see Tyson Fury do the business.
Yeah.
Really sort of show the levels above. We entered this year in a sort of 3-horse race. It's now 2.
Yeah,
Whose performance do you think was better? Wilder's against Brazil or Fury?
What was really interesting about both performances is Wilder did what he's really good at.
Yeah.
He crushed him with a right hand.
Straight away.
And Fury did what he's really good at, and he boxed and he showed his reflexes and his movement and how elusive he is, and he got the stoppage. So both showed an advert. It was like a perfect advert for their upcoming fight. If you show the highlight reels of both fights, you'll find out what both fighters are about and what they're going to do in the fight.
It's only about 5 minutes in total.
Yeah, so it makes just one advert. You don't need a highlight reel, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, you saw Deontay Wilder's devilish right hand, and you saw Fury's slippery movement.
Yeah,
which I can't wait. Like that fight, I can't wait for it.
It's gonna be insane. For me, Wilder's got the X factor. Like he could catch you like at any given moment. I was listening to an interview with Jeff Mayweather. Everyone knows Fury's the better boxer. Like everyone knows that when it comes to boxing, technically Wilder's not the best, but that right hand.
Well, we saw that in their fight in December.
Yeah, I've said this all along since we started this podcast. He carries his power late. It's not a case of he's dangerous for rounds 2, 3, 4, 5.
No.
If you get outside of those rounds, though, he falls apart. He put Fury down in the 12th, Spilka in the 9th.
Ortiz as well.
Ortiz was at the 9th or the 10th.
Yeah.
That he carries his power really late. So when Fury's legs do slow, which they inevitably will, he's a very talented guy. But the in a 12-round fight, your legs will slow slightly. Your reflexes will go slightly. And all he needs is that slight moment of lapsing concentration, as Fury found out in the previous fight, and it can be all over. But where he's hit lesser men and they've not gone up, he's never hit someone like Fury before who got up to win the round. So it literally, even if he does, I can't wait for that fight. It's unbelievable.
So moving on.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, we're talking about rematches here. We've got Wilder versus Fury 2, and then there's going to be that potential Joshua Ruiz 2. Out of the 2 fights, which one would you want to see first? Or which one's the most sort of anticipated fight?
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one. Do you know what? For me, it is a really tough one. I think in terms of the actual fight itself, like the fight that I'm probably going to rewatch and blah blah blah, I think would be Wilder Fury 2.
Yeah.
But imagine the moment when Joshua walks the ring against Ruiz.
All eyes on him.
The amount that is on the line in that moment. It's one of those ones. There's certain fights where your hands are shaking when you're in the fight, walking to the ring. You're invested in the fight. British people are invested in Andy Joshua.
Yeah.
If you're a fight fan and you're British, you want Andy Joshua to win. You want Andy Joshua to do well because he carries the sport for us. Really, he's sort of 80% of all the success that we've had is all him. So when he walks the ring, it's literally, if he gets knocked out again, British boxing's balloon gets popped, and we do take a tumble in the kind of stakes around the world. So all of us, all British people, are going to be sat there thinking. Whereas I don't think Wilder Fury, whoever loses that fight can come again because it's the 2 best, and they can redo it. If Wilder loses every single round and gets outboxed, that's what could happen. If Fury gets absolutely cleaned out against Wilder, that's what could happen. Who cares? If Joshua loses to Ruiz 2, it's over, and that's terrifying, and that's why that fight is so much more.
Do you think you should fight him straight away?
The thing is, where does he go? Because the contract will have. I've heard this debate. You shouldn't fight him. The contract will have a time limit on it. You can't just go off. You can't hold that contract over someone for 10 years and say, "Oh yeah, no, you're supposed to." No, there'll be a time limit on it. And if he doesn't execute it within that time limit, he doesn't get his shot at Andy Ruiz. If he doesn't fight Andy Ruiz next, and Andy Ruiz goes on to lose those titles to Fury or Wilder, how does he then get those titles back?
The door's closed.
The door's closed.
So bargaining chips.
He needs to gamble. Yeah. He needs to do it. So people say, "Oh, go away and have 5 fights," and he's not going to learn how to box now. He's not going to improve that much. He's 29 years old. He's going to be 30 soon. That ship sailed. He needs to do what he does best. He can box. He can beat Andy Ruiz Jr. with what he's got right now. He needs to have a really good night, and he can do it if he focuses. I think he needs to do this.
So you're saying that, alright, so he's 29 years old, you can't really pick up anything now.
I'm not saying you can't pick up anything, but you don't change drastically.
Okay, cool. But I don't know, there's talks about him dropping McCracken And I was listening to what's his face, Spencer Fearon the other day.
On the defensive.
Yeah, and he was saying that yes, he was speaking to James Toney and George Foreman, a couple other guys who basically they just focused on defense as their biggest weapon. And he was saying how Joshua should pretty much move on, look for a defensive coach and work on that. But
Spencer Fearon has been guilty of talking a lot of rubbish in his time. He goes back. He harks back to like.
That's my guy, you know.
I've got to disagree with that.
Spencer's my guy.
He harks back to like fighters from a bygone age, and he says this about the defensive thing. Yeah, when in reality, if he was in charge of managing Anthony Joshua's career and it was all on him, would he be so quick to make that decision? If he was going to get blamed for let's drop the trainer and let's not fight Andy Ruiz next, and let's focus on defense for the next 5 years. Oh look, Anthony Joshua still fights exactly the same. Okay, what fighter? There's very few fighters. You probably could rattle off maybe 5 examples of fighters who drastically changed their style.
I'm going Lewis. If you go back to Lennox Lewis, after
But
that.
you know what? That was a lucky punch.
It was a lucky
Whereas
punch.
with this fight,
Ruiz.
Ruiz bullied him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying, innit? So it's, at least with like Lennox's situation, you could look back and say it was a lucky punch, came back, got the W.
In terms of him then becoming more of a defensive and skilled
I think
fighter.
by defensive, I think it's not unrealistic to think that Anthony Joshua could go and implement a similar strategy to what Klitschko implemented. So long jab, very negative, grabbing, holding, and like kind of doing that kind of style. But in terms of him becoming some slick Pernell Whitaker-esque defensive fighter, that's not going to happen for Anthony Joshua. And we need to be realistic about what he's capable of. I think he's capable of implementing a Klitschko style. What may happen there though is that he starts fighting scared. So he's filled with they fill his head with the fact that he can't take a shot. He's got stamina issues, so he's got to fight this way, which then ultimately will take a lot away from his game.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's not what you want to have. Anthony Joshua is best when he's aggressive, when he's confident,
Fearless.
Okay, when he's fearless. But also they need to just get him thinking about keep your jab long. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep your feet working in and out. Not like they don't need to scare him. They don't need to change him as a fighter. All right. When you see fighters get changed, they can lose a lot. All right. Anthony Joshua's won a gold medal and got to be a unified heavyweight world champion. He's got a lot going for him. Refine what he's got and add little bits on. Don't try to reinvent the wheel because you're gonna lose everything that he's got. That's good. Do you know what I mean?
It is squeaky bum time, isn't it?
It was the worst thing that could have happened to him. Do you know? This is like boxing such a boxing such a
blessing.
It could be a blessing.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
Man. Had that been Wilder, would have been a wrap.
All right. Well, if you're looking at it like that, all right. Like, who do you want to take those right hands off of? Yeah, like fair enough.
Yeah.
But in terms of the moment where he lost, he could have kept the ball rolling and then got outboxed by Fury, and it would have been like, oh well, you know that's due to happen. Now he's got to try and like, if he loses Andy Ruiz again, where's he standing in the history of boxing? Where's his legacy? Where's he standing in the current heavyweight climate? He's done, and he will get forgotten about as the guy who was a bit of a hype job and lost his titles.
I don't know.
I don't think Clive agrees on that one. What do you think?
Nah. Like, we're talking about a guy who sold out Wembley Stadium.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the perception. Ricky Hatton, for instance, when he was fighting, we all thought, or the media had us believing that he was a great. They used to talk about him in terms of pound for pound standings. He was third in the pound for pound rankings. They were saying he's going to beat Mayweather. He's going to beat Pacquiao.
But he lost to the best.
All right,
Back to back as well.
All right, he lost.
Yeah.
You look back, but the way he lost now makes us think, Hatton was a good guy. You know, he was game. Was he a great? Was Hatton a great?
So I'm looking back at the wins against Gatti, Collazo. I think, yeah, with Hatton, it's a funny one. As in, what was his? How many fights did he win? Was it like? He was like an unbeaten run himself.
He went to roughly like 40, 40,
yeah,
something like that, in and around that.
I think, like, you know what, he lost to two of the best. Like, Pacquiao was an absolute beast himself.
I know, but the perception. All right, we understand boxing. We're very hardcore boxing fans.
Yeah.
But the perception of Hatton, Well, what is the perception of Hatton right now, in terms of the history of boxing? Compare it to Joe Calzaghe's legacy.
Yeah. I think. You know when you say hype job, for example.
I don't mean hype. I think I'm being harsh.
I think you're being very harsh.
I'm being 100% harsh there.
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
saying I'm comparing it to Tyson Fury. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like when they look back on, so just say Fury goes on to do what I expect him to do, because he is the best right now. When they look back on both of their careers, what are they going to say about the pair of them? Let's say Andy Joshua, I was a game guy, he was a good guy, but he had a lot of flaws. And I don't think that's how Andy Joshua's going to want to be remembered.
Right. How about this year? David Price, for example. David Price, when he was coming into the scene.
I'm not calling him David Price.
All right, cool.
I'm not calling him.
I'm going to put my point across.
No, I get what you mean.
So David Price, him and Fury, so much hype with these two, right? What? Price, he beat Fury in the amateurs, and mate, like, after his win against Audley, everyone was all over him. Then he lost to Tony Thompson. Then he lost to Thompson again in a rematch, and before you know it, Price, his stock just dropped massively. Joshua's won the gold, like he's won a gold medal for fuck's sake, and not only that, he's won titles to be.
And he will, and he's got a very impressive resume.
Yeah.
But if he loses to Andy Ruiz Jr. Again, like in the next fight, it stops there.
I don't think it stops there because boxing's a funny game. He can lose to Ruiz, but then possibly still beat Wilder.
Very big possibility.
That's what I'm saying. You can go through the old cliches of styles make fights, whatever. It could be the same.
Especially heavyweight boxing, man.
Yeah, all it takes is that sort of one bang and it all changes.
They all lost, man.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
And even if you look at the rankings, there's so many fighters who are on the fringes of contention.
I get it. You can all lose, but I think that, all right, Joshua could come back. He may not though. And if that was the kind of the end of the run for him, like he came back and he lost to maybe Fury in a fight down the road, and he never really got back to where he is now, would he be happy with the career that he's had? Would he be happy that probably one day he probably would be, but right now he's thinking, like, that mistake cost me so much. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if he never did get back to where he was, and this was the end of the road, I think he would that night in New York would have cost him so much.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like it was one mistake just promotionally, and I think that's just that's a lot of pressure going into a fight with.
Yeah.
But again, that's what makes it such an enticing. When they start promoting like that, and when Eddie Hearn gets on the end of making that promotion and selling that to us.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna be up till 5 o'clock in the morning. That's the kind of pay-per-view we're all gonna buy. That's gonna do so many records. It's exciting times.
So we're gonna have a quick poll here. So make sure you put your comments below. We're going to go Wilder Fury 2 or Joshua Ruiz 2. Just a last point on Andy Ruiz. He's quite confident he's going to beat AJ. The fight is looking to take place in the end of November, if not December. They're just trying to organise a venue. AJ wants it back in Madison Square Garden where it all went wrong.
Good on him.
If it was you, Clive, where would you go? Would you have it back in the UK?
Well, hands all over the idea of coming back to the UK. The way Joshua looks at it is, if he was to come back to the UK, get the W, there'll still be questions. So for him, it's just more about, you know what, I lost there. Let's have the rematch there. Mm-hmm. So credit to him.
Mm-hmm. I know, but this is a prime example of fighters needing protecting from themselves. Okay, fighters are crazy. Fighters like to fight. That's why if you're a fighter, you do. You get a really strong team of people that you trust to make business decisions and make the decisions to keep your career rolling along. And then they put you in the ring to make sure that you can do your bit, which is the win on the night. And I think trust Eddie Hearn here. Get the win, keep the ball rolling in your career, and forget all about don't worry about them questions that are going to ask. People ask questions all the time. If you win in Madison Square Garden, people ask questions. Boxing fans are fickle. Boxing fans are crazy. All right. Get the win. In 10 years' time, no one's going to remember where it happened. They're just going to remember that you won that rematch. You're a superstar. Go to Madison Square Garden and you lose. Everyone's going to think, what an idiot. Well, he made a massive mistake there. I think the trade-off is like the way Anthony Joshua fights in the UK is he just got such an advantage here because of that crowd and because of the patriotism he has here. He's never lost here, and I think he should back himself to bring him back here. 90,000. Let's do the job and keep the ball rolling.
Now, one heavyweight fighter who's still waiting for his sort of big heavyweight sort of payday and big title fight is Dillian Whyte, who's now gone past 600 days since he's been mandatory with a WBC belt.
It's a joke.
That's a long time.
It's an absolute joke.
Have you ever come across a fight who had to wait so long for that big fight?
You can have like 3 kids in that time, you know.
Well, I've had one.
Mate, it is sad. As in, like, he's done everything that's been asked of him. Ever since the Joshua loss, he's been in an unbeaten run. Fought some top opponents, the likes of, just saw it twice.
Parker.
And he's got a tough fight coming up. And he's fucking ballsy for taking on that fight. He could have easy, took a seat back and just waited for the Wilder fight. But it's a funny one. Like Eddie seems keen to push for it now.
Very funny why he started.
How convenient, right?
You're not questioning the morals of Eddie Hearn, are you, Claire?
I think Oscar Rivas, that's a tough fight. It's a very tough fight, and they're talking about that being a final eliminator.
Potentially, yeah. So I mean, Dillian Whyte really risks his number one status as a WBC sort of contender. It's a big fight, July 20th at the O2 Arena.
Great card. Great card. Good fight. Oscar Rivas looks great on TV because he's like, a bag of muscles and he's got the knockout against Brian.
He looks good.
He looks good, he's got the knockout against Brian Jennings. That's like a really good highlight show-stopping thing to have. On the undercard of that fight, you've got David Price against Dave Allen, the Battle of the Daves. Chisora against Spilka. Spilka's a very good fight. I don't sleep on that guy. I know that Deontay Wilder knocked him out in 9 rounds, but he was giving Wilder all he could handle in those 9 rounds. Very good card. Really fun night of boxing.
Is it pay-per-view?
It is pay-per-view. Of course, it's pay-per-view. No, but I think fair enough, yeah. Dillian Whyte, he's a throwback, and he deserves his shot. What I will say to you, though, is if we are forced to wait, because if that throws a spanner in the works of Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, would you be happy for Dillian Whyte to step in? So then you get Dillian Whyte, Deontay Wilder in May.
Yeah.
And then you're waiting again. What, as boxing fans, what would you want to see?
I'd actually be all over that.
Or would you rather see Dillian Whyte get confirmed for each date? You're definitely getting the fight, but you're going to fight the winner of Deontay Wilder thing. So Christmas next year.
I don't know. I think it's been too long.
It's been too long, and
really?
the risk is he fights someone else, and then it's again. What do you do there? If
he's the kind of guy like, all right, cool. He gets given a date. He ain't gonna sit back.
Yeah, he's going to go. He's going to get into a fight in a car park or something. He's going to go.
You know what? It'd be good to see. I think. We've been waiting for such a long time for him to like mix up with these big boys. Like there's a lot of talk with him and Fury. Obviously, that's not happening, and it's just about time. He deserves it. Like
Dillian Whyte, Deontay Wilder. My God,
mate, just a build up.
My God, I'd pay for the press conference.
Yeah,
I would pay to go into that press conference. They're the build up. Imagine the face to face. When they sit around that table, imagine what Dillian Whyte. I think Dillian Whyte will terrorise him. I think in terms of verbally, I think Dillian Whyte will just rip him.
You're talking rubbish.
Love the Rock.
Because he's just so random. Whereas I don't think Deontay Wilder's that quick. Like he's got a lot of sayings and things like that. He's quite a very charismatic guy. But in terms of like a one-on-one kind of slanging match, I think Dillian Whyte would do it.
Can you imagine? Brilliant. Dean White and Deontay Wilder's brother getting at it.
Oh mate,
they could be on the undercard.
Put it on the undercard. Imagine the build up, and then both of their styles of fighting are very unorthodox. It's all about setting up big shots, and it's all about slipping in. Heavyweight boxing right now. As long as the fights get made, we live in arguably if they all get made as we want them to, we live in arguably the best time.
And that's what I was saying at the start of the show. We're kind of awaiting our sort of very own golden era in the sort of heavyweight scene.
Yeah, it's begun. It begun with Klitschko Fury, so it has begun.
Yeah.
If you look back, when we look back on this in 10, 15 years time, we will say that was the beginning of the golden era.
Yeah.
When Tyson Fury dethroned him, then we had the storyline of Tyson Fury losing his belts and all that stuff. Then Klitschko, Joshua, the first 90,000 at Wembley Stadium. That's a golden era.
Yeah.
Then we had Fury Wilder. Massive fight. We're in the golden era. We need to appreciate it, but these fights need to get made and it needs to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Then we'll have Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois. Nice segue for us later. Coming through. It's a golden time for boxing.
In terms of the most improved heavyweight boxer, would you agree with White being that man?
I don't think you need heavyweight. I think he's probably got to be one of the most improved fighters, like maybe in the world. I would say definitely in Britain, maybe in the world. Like improved. He talks about you can't teach an old puts play to my kind of theory because he is that, and I'm not gonna pull bones about that. It does happen, but Dillian Whyte, if you look at what he was, when he fought Joshua in that first fight, to what he is now.
He was still raw and a bit of a bruiser.
He's learned so much. He's thinking. What I will argue though, he was a little bit younger then, and
didn't he pick up an injury or something?
He had a shoulder injury.
He had a shoulder, and you got to remember as well, he was technically a full-time pro, but he wasn't like Anthony Joshua full-time where he's got like an income. He had to do other stuff for money and things like that, and then he was like, he was a boxer sort of around that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, the improvements came from the fact that he then got money to go full time, and he got Tibbs as a trainer, and you saw a massive improvement. He dedicated. He drives up to Leicester every
Loughborough University.
Loughborough University.
Yeah.
Credit to him. He is a sign. He definitely deserves his shot. He's a credit also to like a fighter who was banned from the amateurs because he had a kickboxing career. So he had no backing, and he came up on the small hall shows when, like, if you watch O'Hara Davis's video about how hard it is to come through the small hall shows, and the way he did that on parallel to Anthony Joshua, and then you look at where they are now. Arguably, Joshua's dropped down. Dillian White's, are they terribly far away from each other right now? They're not a million miles away, are they?
Not at all.
Both headlining pay-per-view shows. Dillian White, he's doing the O2, and Joshua would do Wembley. But if Joshua loses again, where are they then?
Yeah, I mean, White has made O2 his home. If you go back to last July, I think it was, when he took on Joseph Parker, that was an absolute...
Yeah, Lucas Brown even before that.
And Lucas Brown as well.
Brown.
You check his resume, and he's fighting the best of the best, or at least the best that he can fight on his way to the title.
Yeah, the best fighters outside the top three.
Yeah, consistently as well. He's not going, fight one and then have a year off. He's like, a few months later, let me get in there again. Who have you got for me?
Yeah.
And whatever money they can generate to get the best opponent, he's taking. Do you know what I mean? Like Joseph, they paid Joseph Parker an absolute fortune to come over. Dillian White took a massive pay cut. They could have got a lesser opponent. Dillian White could have taken all the money and had an easy night's work. But he knew that promotionally, if he got a really good win over Joseph Parker, that would have been good for the long run. So he envisions his career in such a long term way. He backs himself so much. He's such an impressive guy.
So we'll touch on the next generation of heavyweight boxing in a minute, but I just want to touch on Josh Warrington against Kid Galahad. Kind of a controversial ending, would you say?
Yeah, that was a tough one to call, to be honest. I think Galahad kept holding too much. It was
a messy fight, wasn't it?
It was.
Did you think Warrington deserved to lose his title in that way?
To be fair, I thought it should have been a draw.
A draw, and then Warrington would have kept his title anyway, and then they would never have fought again because Warrington would have thought, I'm not fighting that guy again. Do you know what I mean? It was very messy. It wasn't great to watch. I think, whatever way you cut it up, I think maybe a split decision to Warrington or a draw would have been fine. I don't think it was the worst robbery in the world. I don't think it was the worst decision in the world. I think it was a really hard fight to score.
Yeah.
I think that, like, we're going to see Warrington in, like, those styles will not match up for Warrington. But Warrington's the type of fight, he can have so many fun fights. If he gets over and he fights Leo Santa Cruz in America, if he fights Oscar Valdez in America, even Scott Quigg over here, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Scott Quigg against the thing.
I don't know about Quigg now.
I don't know what he's fighting like, but Scott Quigg's old school fighting style, if he could rediscover some of that form, he just gave Oscar Valdez a good fight like recently.
Yeah,
I suppose so.
So it'd be a fun fight though. I think Warrington will win it, but I think it'd be a fun fight.
Manchester Leeds.
Good to set him. I think it's still at the MEN, still at Ellen Road. There's money in that fight. But just those kind of fun, come forward featherweight fighters. Lots of Mexicans out there for Warrington now. And, again, could that be Frank Warren's second, another one that he takes over to America who does a really good job over there and takes over a load of fans? Frank Warren, what a man.
I think Warrington could beat Santa Cruz.
And imagine if he does. That's such a big night of boxing.
Yeah.
If Warrington goes over and gets that win over Leo Santa Cruz,
he puts him there, right?
On a big pay-per-view show. Yeah. That's like, imagine Warrington. He was that guy that was struggling to win British titles a few years ago. It's crazy who he used to be. Like, again, massive improvement in a fight.
His last two fights against Selby and Frampton were like fight of the year contenders for me. With the Galahad fight, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't great, was it?
Again, you talk about records and like Dillian White, Warrington, Selby, Frampton, Galahad, and then now going after Leo Santa Cruz. What a run! What a run!
Yeah.
He's not ducking it. He's not ducking and dodging anyone, is he?
What now for Galahad?
Well, I was going to say, he must be kicking himself for not doing enough to win that belt.
Yeah, it's gutting for him because he's in the Who Needs Him club because he doesn't really generate any money, so he's always going to be an opponent. But he's a very, very good fighter and very awkward fighter to beat. Like he showed the other night, he can go southpaw. He's very tricky. He's hot. He's elusive.
He's a very fit fighter as well.
Very, very fit. Yeah. So he's you're never going to look good against someone like Galahad, and he's finding himself in that kind of Junior Witter territory now, where it's like, why would I fight him? He doesn't bring anything to the table apart from a load of problems. So he's going to have to work his way back up now to try to get another mandatory position.
It's harsh, but we're saying let's go back to the drawing board. And this is a guy who's come out from a close fight.
Yeah,
And,
boxing.
It's insane.
It's insane, but
boxing's like snakes and ladders. It's like Andy Joshua. Look, what?
High risk.
8 weeks ago, Andy Joshua was like top of the world. And it's like 8 weeks later, I'm talking about him like having to retire. It's just mental. Like boxing is such a strange sport.
Clive, where do you assess the ongoings in the Ingle gym? They've recently, in the last few months, they've lost Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah.
Kell Brook is not the man he used to be, and obviously now Kid Galahad has lost his fight.
Yeah, it's a funny one. When Kell Brook left, that came as a massive shock. And Brook, he did not look great at all in his last fight. So I don't know whether I think he should reconsider and go back to the Ingle gym. With Galahad, it's a sad case really, as in he hasn't really got a massive fan base. And the guy's a quality boxer, and unfortunately he has to go back to the drawing boards. With Billy Joe, he's with Ben Davidson now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's he was with Ben Davidson beforehand as well.
But it must have been a reason why you've left the famous Ingle gym, very experienced, to then go back to Davidson, who's a much younger fighter.
He's like 26, isn't he?
Yeah.
The thing with Billy Joe Saunders, notably, he when he gets settled somewhere, he just ends up attracting trouble into his life. I think. Yeah, when he was in London, like Hertfordshire, there's stories in the gyms behind closed doors. That kind of he gets up to no good. If he goes home from the gym, he's got a lot of time there to sort of get up to no good.
His mates
and then he took himself up to the Winkerbank gym up in Sheffield, and then it worked really well for a while because he didn't know anyone up there. It was just train, sleep, don't know anyone. Then he started to make friends up there, and then he started to get himself. And he had the year from hell last year, got himself into a lot of trouble, and then I think he just needs to keep. Now he trains like in Marbella, so. There's a language barrier there, so hopefully he just can't get himself into trouble. I think we're touching on to the Ingle gym. They'll be fine. They'll come again. They've got a lot of good talent coming through. There's a little bit of a blip now, but there's always a little bit of a blip. There was a blip between Junior Witter and Kell Brook kind of coming through. This is boxing. This is how boxing works. There's ups and downs, but there's a lot of good fighters in the country who would jump ship to them immediately. So in the next month or two, you could see like a big signing go to the Ingle gym because he's free now. So like you say, that's an opportunity for him to attract. If there's any good slick southpaws out there who can make a few quid, go to the Ingle gym because you're going to get trained perfectly up there.
It's like when Adam Booth lost both David Hay and George Groves.
Yeah.
Exactly. And everyone said he was done, and he just went away and he just went back and trained for training's sake. He kind of took himself out of the big highlight boxing realm, and then these light fighters who no one would really ever talk about.
Charlie Edwards.
Blew up. Yeah, Charlie Edwards. Josh Burnett.
Is Kelly with him?
Josh Kelly's with him.
Ryan Burnett.
Ryan Burnett. Sorry.
Billy Joe a while back.
Yeah, but it ebbs and flows. Like even the great Freddie Roach, he was having a bit of an ebb. Do you know what I mean? Happens. Ings will be fine. Dominic Ingle is a quality trainer, one of the best in the country. Do you know what I mean? Any fighter will be lucky to go there, so he'll be fine.
Okay, so another card coming up this summer is Daniel Dubois taking on Gorman, a big heavyweight bust up. Clive, you're not too keen on it, or where do you stand in this one?
I'm going for Gorman in this one. Yeah. I think he'll beat Dubois. Have you guys watched the advert, by the way? It's absolutely hilarious.
Boy, you're going to sleep.
It's absolutely tragic.
Absolutely tragic. Whose idea was that? Put Daniel Dubois, possibly, I wouldn't say boring, but an unenthusiastic gentleman, I would say. And just to have him on the advert saying "you're going to sleep" is the worst thing to say ever.
So, Steve, what's your thoughts on Daniel Dubois? Because you look at him in the ring, and he's very explosive. He's very heavy-handed, and he knocks guys out for fun. But then it's the whole character. How can they sort of transcend him to the top of the party in the heavyweight division?
Winning well. You don't need to be a talker. There's been a lot of fighters in history who have taken like an enigmatic approach, and they're not much of a talker, but they're just a ferocious fighter. There's a lot of very famous fighters who can't really speak English, like Lomachenko is very famous in the Western world. I don't know how good his English is, but I don't know him to be a charismatic guy outside the ring and a showman. But his boxing overrides that.
It's like Golovkin.
Golovkin. There's a lot of very all there's like all the Cubans. Look, Cotto, strong silent type, very famous, very popular. Okay, not much of a talker, absolutely fine. Manny Pacquiao similar. So that will be overrode by his talent in the ring. This is the first time we're going to see him have to use that talent, and like Clive said, I'm nervous for him because if he comes through this test, and it depends how he comes through it as well. If he gets in there and outboxes and dissects Gorman and puts him away in 6 rounds like a champion would, thinking, whoa, this guy's the real deal. If they have a scrappy kind of scrappy sort of fight where you're sort of looking at 2 novices, we need to reassess where they're at. So it'll be interesting. Or Gorman, like Clive reckons, he could take Dubois into those deep waters, slip and slide for 4 rounds. Dubois sort of comes a bit reckless, loses his shape from rounds 5 to 12, picks him apart, picks him off, and maybe gets a late stoppage or wins wide on points, which is a very, very strong outcome. Because I've seen Danny Dubois. We talked about Wilder carrying his power late.
Yeah.
Danny Dubois is a classic example of someone who he loses power after.
I was going to say the same thing.
He loses his power after 4 or 5 rounds,
Yeah.
And then he kind of runs out of ideas, and the explosiveness seems to go, and then he loses his shape a little bit,
Relies on that.
And they call it a 4-round fighter in boxing. You'll hear fighters talking, you're a 4-round fighter. Daniel Dubois, to me, has shown examples of him being a 4-round fighter up until now. He needs a big, mature performance. He needs to conserve his energy. He needs to box well. I don't think he's got that in the tank. But he's 21. He's a baby. So is
it's a big fight.
A big fight. Do you know what I mean? And both of these, one's 23. Looks about 40, but he's only 23.
I've got to say that really threw me. I think it was the receding hairline and the lack of hair anyway.
It's the year of the dad bod though. It's like literally this year has been like Tyson Fury, Gorman, Ruiz Jr.
Mate, I'll cancel my gym. I'm built like a carrier.
I can see you've been enjoying life, trying to get the Ruiz bod. Yeah,
Snickers, mate.
But no, that's a really good fight. And then you got Brian Jennings against Joe Joyce on the undercard.
Yeah.
Really, that's a big step up for. I know he's got some names on his record, but Joe Joyce is that like Brian Jennings was winning that fight against Rivas until the 12th round when he got chinned. Yeah, this is a great card, and it's free to air on BT. Or, on BT, it's like you sort of if you got your it's not pay per view. It's a fantastic card.
Joyce still with Abel Sanchez?
No, he's with Adam Booth now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's another Adam Booth. Adam Booth's got a big heavyweight again.
Oh, shit.
That's the thing. And Sanchez also lost. Who was it? Top of the head.
Golovkin. It's brutal. So, but
oh, wow.
It's so it's again boxing snakes and ladders, swings and roundabouts.
That's crazy that he's gone to Adam Booth, considering how his manager beforehand was David Hay.
Yeah.
It's nuts,
it is weird. He needs to work on he's got a lot of things to work on, and he's easily hittable. But these things will iron themselves out with Adam Booth, we hope.
So it's been a very fascinating era for boxing, heavyweight boxing anyway, and we did actually forget to mention Alexander Usyk, who's now become the WBO mandatory. So we go through all these big names. We mentioned Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Dillian White, Joshua Ruiz, and now we've got
Usyk. Yeah, I think he's gonna dominate in years to come. It's gotta be like when who moved up from cruiser to heavyweight, Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah,
I think Usyk's got a similar sort of impacts. Technically, he is fantastic. This guy is sensational. The cruiserweight division, there's nothing in it. He's done everything.
He's done that. Yeah.
He's clocked the game, mate.
He's clocked that.
For me, I think, for sure, years to come.
They're obviously being the number one contender for the WBO title places him in line to fight the winner of Andy Ruiz Jr. against Anthony Joshua. So you're saying that he's a very talented guy. Is he that talented where he can move on and he can fight those kind of fellas? What do you think?
Well, you know what? Joshua struggles with movement.
Movers,
Exactly.
Switch hitters, people who are very talented.
And Usyk does carry a lot of power. And Andy Ruiz, he's not even the strongest puncher.
Yeah.
So if he's able to knock down Joshua,
say that
Usyk can't.
What I would say as well is that he competed at super heavyweight in the
Olympics.
I don't know if it was at the Olympics. He competed at heavyweight in the Olympics, but super heavyweight at different times in his amateur career, and also in the World Series of Boxing.
Yeah.
If you go on YouTube, you can see him fight Joe Joyce in the World Series of Boxing. Absolutely dominated Joe Joyce. Just literally bamboozled him, and he couldn't lay a glove on him. So Joe Joyce is a 6'6", 250 pounder, and he made light work with him over 5 3-minute rounds. So. Again, he's a fantastic addition. Deontay Wilder competed in the cruiserweight division. They call it heavyweight in the amateurs. He won his bronze medal in the heavyweight division, not the super heavyweight division, and that's why he's only 15 stone.
Yeah,
he still makes it work. If you're supremely talented, it can override size. The only thing is, though, the old cliche: a good big man beats a good little man, and we've got one of the best big men, and he's a very big man in that division right now. So it's going to be hard for anyone else to kind of someone like Usyk against Tyson Fury is just it's a bit difficult.
Oh, that's saucy, mate.
Right, so where do we go from there?
Where we go from here? Well, on Friday we had the JD Next Gen series at the famous York Hall. Conor Benn headlining that, and is now talk of him facing Josh Kelly. Did any of you guys catch the York Hall card?
I saw that American kid make his UK debut.
Oh yes, that was Otto Jones the third.
Yeah. It was first.
Very creative in the family.
This guy has got charisma, man.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
What was it? First round knockout.
First round knockout on his UK debut. He's definitely one to watch. Otto Jones.
I think he's fighting again this week. He's fighting an Andrade card.
Well, he kind of done too much damage to himself in a 1 round
What's
blowout,
that?
so why not? If the money's there, why not? So who was topping that? So we had Conor Benn in a sort of really difficult fight. What the guy had lost a split decision to Samuel Vargas, was it? So very big step up for the level that Conor Benn's been fighting at, and also kind of having struggles at certain points in his career. Andy, did you watch the fight? How did you find it?
I mean, Conor Benn is a very explosive fighter, but you just get that feeling that he's also taking too many blows in return.
Yes,
and I do worry about him long term. You can throw out all the comparisons to his old man, Nigel Benn, but it comes a point where you've got to be your own man and kind of demonstrate your own style. So that win puts him 15-0, and that's his first defense of a WBA Continental welterweight title. But yeah, my concern is that he's a bit of a brawler, you know what I'm trying to say? Someone that wants to give it some to the...
It does seem like he's trying to live up to his dad's name, but his dad had equalising power. His dad had ferocious power, that kind of like a Carl Froch level of power, which I don't think he possesses. Therefore, if you're a come forward brawler and you don't really have that kind of outstanding power, you lose a lot from that game. So you're gonna have to be a bit more inventive in the way you do it. His dad was naturally blessed. They're talking about him fighting Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly, who recently had a draw out in America on the Anthony Joshua undercard.
I thought he lost that.
I think that whole night was...
Former Olympian, former Team GB Olympian, very, very talented, kind of switch hitter.
Adam Booth in the camp.
Adam Booth in the camp, one of Adam Booth's like kind of top prospects right now. I think that he would probably have too much for Conor Benn in terms of boxing style, but Josh Kelly needs to show me a bit more, to be honest. He seems a bit too fancy Dan in his boxing, and it's a lot of style and not a lot of substance. I don't see him hitting very hard. I don't see him sort of doing the necessary things to win fights. It's all just very showy. And again, against that higher level, like when he went out to America, they're not going to fall down in the face of like flicky jabs and a bit of head movement. And he got found out. I think that's a really good fight for where they're both at. Conor Benn put himself right up there with this fight, and again, Josh Kelly came back from America, tail between his legs a bit. So good crossroads fight. I think Josh Kelly would have enough to take that one up.
Are they looking to have that fight as like a main event?
It's either going to be the main event of a fight night, or it will flesh out an undercard of a
But to be fair,
pay-per-view fight.
Conor Benn headline this show, so
I love to see the York Hall getting sold out. The York Hall is a sort of monumental kind of historical place for East End boxing, and it's good that Eddie Hearn still does go back there, put on shows there, and put them on Sky Sports, because in this. That's one of the big tragedies of kind of like the burgeoning boxing scene right now, is those kind of small classic small hall venues are getting forgotten about, like the York Hall. You're not really seeing any televised boxing there anymore. So that was a fun night of boxing on Friday. I'm glad to see that was happening.
Also on that night we had Ted Cheeseman retaining his British super middle welterweight belt against Kieran Conway following a draw. Ted Cheeseman, I think he came up short at European level.
He did,
but he will now face Scott Fitzgerald, who's quite...
I think Scott Fitzgerald is a bit too, he's the real deal.
He's good, man.
He's like of those like that trio of Fowler, Cheeseman, and Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Fitzgerald seems to be a cut above
quality,
those
man.
guys. I think he's the one out of that little trio that's going to go on to world level. I think maybe they should have done Cheeseman Fowler
Yeah.
like first, and then
That's what I was thinking.
and then do the whip. But maybe they're looking at it now thinking
What's happening with Fowler now?
he's stepping. So Fitzgerald was supposed to fight Brian Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Fitzgerald got injured, and then Fowler, to his credit, jumped in about 3 or 4 weeks' notice. Said, "I'll take the fight." So credit to him. He's trying to get his career back on the road.
That was a big upset, wasn't it?
I think people in boxing knew what was going to happen there. But in terms of like the hype behind which fight, one was a GB, the nephew of a footballing great in this case, Robbie Fowler, yeah.
God, yeah.
And the other guy is just some guy from Preston. So, but he like people in the know knew that Fitzgerald is the real deal.
In the women's scene, we had Shannon Courtenay securing her first pro stoppage, which extends her unbeaten record to 3 victories. Also on the night, we had a heated South London derby settled between Craig Richards and Andre Sterling. Now that was the fight that I was particularly sort of looking forward to. Richards emerged victorious on points, taking home bragging rights, and now he will fight potentially Joshua Buatsi, another fighter from South London. You could say that's a big jump.
It's a massive jump.
But much credit to Craig Richards. We can
You say
his career.
You say massive jump, but like in terms of being in the pro ring, and you look at their pro records, was either one like?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Are we kind of getting sort of
like
Craig into the hype of Buatsi?
I think
Buatsi's just the real deal.
Yeah, but I think you've got to let someone have their career though. Do you know what I mean? You got like boxing careers happen in a boxing ring, not like he's amazing. So let's just like the Anthony Yard formula for a boxing career, where you just kind of go, he's great. So let's put him in a world title. You need to fight the Craig Richards of the world, where those guys are crafty and they'll show you things that you've never seen before in a pro ring with 12 ounce gloves on and no head guard. And Joshua Buatsi needs to get hardened to the pro game. Like most prospects will lose one to someone like Craig Richards. Do you know?
I think Richards I think with him he should just build up his name a bit.
I think
take the fight on later on where both of them have got fantastic stops.
I don't think Craig Richards is that guy though to go like to be marketed in that way. I think he's gonna give the top prospects good fights and he'll win titles along the way.
See him in a Halifax over.
Oh yeah, he's and I really like that. I want to see Josh Buatsi in credible learning fights where he's going to see different looks and he's going to get shown different things.
Yeah.
So far it's just been like knockover jobs. And we need to see. I want to see more so that when he does get to that top level, he's seen it all and he's ready. That's arguably one of the big things that happened with Anthony Joshua. It was an opportunity to win the IBF title came up. He took it, and then it was like learn on the job now. And then he never really got to be the finished article as a fighter because he was constantly like in massive difficult fights. Give Joshua Buatsi a couple years at that kind of British European level. Learn the trade, learn the craft. Then when you're ready to be a world champion, you'll be a dominant world champion for 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
If you kind of go through the names now, we mentioned Craig Richards, we mentioned Andre Sterling, Joshua Buatsi, Anthony Yard, is it Jose Burton as well?
Jose Burton, yep.
Callum Johnson.
So
again, we've got a wealth of talent in that British light heavyweight scene. Who do you think is the man to go on to that next level?
You see, this is the thing, because I think Callum Johnson is probably the best of them, and he went up to fight. To be fair, he went up to fight Bivol, who is like arguably the best in the world right now.
Yeah.
But he came up very short. So it just goes to show that the level of jump between like that kind of top world class level and the British European sort of level is massive. But like Callum Johnson is a dangerous man. Like look what he did to Buglioni, like 1 round crushing defeat.
Yeah.
He's got terrifying power. He's massive for the weight, very very strong, and a Commonwealth gold medalist himself, so a top amateur himself. No mug. So when you look at it like that, you just that jump you got to go through. He went from Buglioni British level to top level and got stopped in 7 rounds. And he won in 1 round at British level against a good British champion who won the belt outright. So this is why he needs to bring fighters through. I think they should have a box off. I mean, like those names there, unbelievable. Hosea Burton, 6'4", really good boxer. So, yeah, talent.
Do you think the Yardy Kovalev fight would actually happen?
Uh,
Been talks about it for a long time.
It's been a long time coming.
Contracts have been sent. Don't know what's happening.
it's
With
it.
Kovalev's camp.
Is it Yard's career's kind of come to a standstill now, hasn't it? Just waiting for this fight. Like it's always
That's my only issue, because in theory he should be on that card with Dubois Gorman, just to kind of keep him active until that fight is actually confirmed.
I think that's a good idea. I think they could give him a little run out. Do you know what I mean? But he's obviously probably thinking, I don't want to mess this up, because apparently he's getting like $1 million or $1 million or something to fight this fight. Imagine like from going from the level that he's, you know, he earns good money in terms of boxing. He probably earns like between £50,000 and £100,000 a fight, which is like for the fighters that he's been fighting and the fights he's been having, excellent money. But then to like have £1 million put on the table, you don't really want to do anything to mess that up. So good luck to him. I hope it does happen. And like you say, what's his name's there for the taking. So I think there's a chance he could do it, but
Kovalev's getting on a bit.
He's got a lot of personal issues. How much does he really care about boxing? He's ditched his trainer and he's gone with like a cheaper trainer. You know, it seems to be just boxing for the sake of boxing. It's like just for the money at this point. Yard's hungry and things like Ricky Hatton and Costa Tszyu that time. You know, Costa Tszyu was the faded legend. Ricky Hatton was nowhere near as good as Costa Tszyu in his best day, but just right time, right place. Good luck to him.
Yeah, cool. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the episode. That was quality, man.
Yeah, that's a good session.
Yeah, so you guys out there, like, subscribe, all of that. Peace.
Don't forget our poll. Was it Wilder v Fury 2, Joshua Ruiz 2? Let us know in the comment section below. Which fight do you want to see more coming up?
Cool. Take care, folks.
Peace.